everybody, to the special edition of Tackle Box Talks. Lake to Table. I'm Daniel Kittleson from Washington County Parks, here today in Mark Davis's kitchen to show you a little bit about how we prepare trout, kokanee, and other types of fish. Enjoy these short videos on how we did catch these fish, and we'll see you back in the kitchen.
Wonderful little Henry Hagg stalker rainbow trout. Beautiful fish. Keep reeling. Bring him over to me.
Good shot.
There we go. All right. Hey.
Welcome back, everybody. Tackle Box Talks in the kitchen with Mark Davis. I'm going to show you a little bit about the couple trout that we did catch in those videos. Here shortly I'm going to bring on Mark Davis, and he's going to show us a little bit about how to prepare these fish. I'm going to bring him on. Mark Davis.
All right.
Welcome.
Here's the main talent for the show right here. What we're going to do is one of these we're going to fillet and prepare it outside. The other one we're going to use a product that I really can recommend. It's called panko. It's a breading for the fish. I'll show you how to do the fillet on the one, and I'll show you how to get it ready for the panko for frying up outside on the back deck here. So yeah, let's start with the fillet. One of the things that's really good to do, these at Harbor Freight Tools are $2.95. One of the best things you can get. It's a really nice fillet knife too. You want for filleting as sharp as you can get. That's all you have to do is sharpen up the knife. Just draw it through there. So let's see, who are we going to pick? We'll take you. So these fish have obviously been gutted, gilled, and deheaded. On the spine, you start above the spine, right there. Let's see if I can do this without cutting fingers off. And you just draw the knife through gently. Kind of keep your fingers back so nothing gets in the way and you head for the hospital. With a fillet knife, you can do serious damage in a big hurry. Now look at that right there. No bones in it at all. All of the bones, the rib bones, have stayed right there on the skeleton. The hard part is doing the other side. That's a little more difficult, but same way, you just start above the spine and then you draw the knife through, and as you can see with what I'm doing here, it's leaving the ribs attached to the skeleton. Getting around the dorsal fin can be a little tough once in a while. And one of the things that, well, I won't do it here because this is going very well, where all of the ribs are staying right on the skeleton. As you can see, we're not leaving a lot of meat on there either. You just draw the really nice sharp knife through there and move it back from the skeleton. And then we'll get rid of these fins as they kind of hold up the whole process. Get around those and then go right off the tail on the end. And we have another nice fillet there. Now with the fillets, you can either brine these up just like we'll do the kokanee that I'll have out here in just a minute. Or you can cook them just this way right here. It's better if you leave the skin on. When I catch the trout, what I do is I use a garden hose to blow the scales off of them because you really don't want those in with the mix. But that's just a nice looking fillet. That's a really nice looking fillet. One of the things I also like to do is the fins and anything that's kind of hanging out down there. It's just nice to go ahead and get rid of those too. Makes the fillet both in the pan if you're going to fry it and if you're going to smoke them, just makes the fillet a lot better, and you don't get really small pieces of meat that kind of get cardboardy. So, all right, now this one, what we're going to do, we're going to bread this one, and we're going to cook it on the grill outside here in a minute. Next thing I want to do, these are the rainbow trout, altogether different than the kokanee. I'll set these aside. And what I want to do when it comes to, let me wash my hands here. What I want to do when we talk about smoking fish is people think, well, that's awfully involved and it's very, very difficult to make up a brine. Well, brining, how do you know when the fish are just about ready to come out and go into the smoker? A brine, this, you can see, this is extraordinarily complex. This is 32 ounces of cane sugar, 4 cups. Dump it in there. When you mix your salt, one of the things you want to do is use either sea salt or canning and pickling salt. You don't want to use any salt that has iodine in it. So we've got 32 ounces in there. I'm going to put in 8 ounces of the canning and pickling salt in with that. And then here in a minute, I'll mix that all up. And then I'll show you how you don't have to put them in a wet brine. We're going to use a dry brine. It's kind of like a rub when you're doing a roast or something like that. But what it does is it desiccates the meat. It makes the meat a lot firmer for the smoker, and it also kind of takes care of any bones that might be left in there. They literally dissolve. So let me go outside, get those kokanee. We'll mix this up, and I'll be right back. All right, well, we didn't want to waste your time mixing up the salt because you want to have the salt and the sugar very well mixed. You don't want a hot spot in there with too much salt. One of the things I can really advise you to do is mix up your salt and sugar ahead of time, and so you have plenty. You don't want to run short. And another thing I can really advise you to do when you mix up your brown sugar and salt, you can't tell there's salt in it just by the look of it. And if you want to really mess up chocolate chip cookies, use the fish brine to make the chocolate chip cookies. It just seems to be slightly off-putting. You have those ready, sir?
Sure do.
All right. There's another thing I do is label it fish brine. Now these are kokanee. They're a landlocked sockeye salmon, and as you can see by the color on them, they're really, really bright, really shiny. Look at that meat. Boy, that's just beautiful, beautiful meat. So what I do is I lay the kokanee fillets skin side down in the pan and just lay them out so that they're going to all be ready here to put the salt on. Again, we don't mix it with water or anything. We just put it in there and let them soak up the taste and let the salt and the sugar desiccate the meat. It takes the moisture out of it. So with the plastic bag, you can kind of make this pretty easy. You don't have to be extraordinarily careful with it. And then layer them out. So you got a layer of salt and sugar over all of the meat, and then put your next layer on. In some of the Washington lakes and a few of the Oregon lakes, they allow you to catch 25 kokanee a day. That's pretty nice. 25 kokanee is a pretty good size mess of fish. Just a reminder, the ratio of salt to sugar is 1 part of salt, and you want to make sure that you're using the canning and pickling salt or that you're using sea salt. You don't want to use iodized salt at all. So it's 1 part of salt to 4 parts of sugar. That recipe seems to work really well. As you can see with the kokanee, the rainbows are a good deal bigger than the kokanee we're using, but these would be a fine smoked fillet, just fine. But what we're going to do is we're going to use these outside and fry them up. So what I want to do with the trout is I want to show you how to bread them. The breading isn't totally necessary, but it helps. So just 1 egg, a little bit of milk, just a little bit of milk. You don't want it too wet. Okay, that's pretty good. Here's our panko again. This stuff, this is good stuff. What I like to do is just take a plate and then put the panko out on the plate. Let's cut that hole a little bigger. That should be plenty. Then if you want, you can put the panko on both the outside of the fish and the inside. So we'll do both of those. So all you need to do, just with a regular breading, you just need to wet the fish down and get it so that the panko will stick to it. Then I like to get a little bit inside too. All right. Take the fish and drop it in there. Wait till you see how this turns out. The only thing better than these rainbow trout is if we had some walleye. Walleye and crappie are pretty hard to beat when it comes to frying. We'll get some of the panko inside there too. All right. Remember what those looked like when I was putting the salt and the brown sugar on them? Look at that. That's how much moisture has been taken out of the flesh on the fish. So now it's ready to be washed off. And what you want to do is you want to wash it off, not thoroughly. You don't want to get all of the taste off of it and all the surface, but you want to get all of the sugar and salt off the outside. Because you can see, I mean, it's on there really, really, really heavy. But that's what makes it work. That's what gets the moisture out of it. That's what makes the fish firm and what makes it smoke really well. But it still leaves the taste of the salt and the sugar in there. Gives it that caramely texture and flavor. So yeah, let's wash these off and we'll put them on the racks. You don't want to use hot water for this. And you'll know that you've done it just right when you feel the skin on the fish and the flesh, and it has a texture to it. It actually feels a little bit leathery. And what I'll do with all of these is I'll take and put them in just a container so that they don't get on other things. But you'll be able to feel when the salt and the sugar is gone. And there's just no doubt about it. The crunchy, crunchy, crunchy. Oh, it got smooth, but it feels a little leathery, and that's just perfect. It's always amazing to me how much moisture that the salt and the sugar will pull out of the meat on this. But it's really hard now. Look, it stands up to a lot of pressure, and that's just the way you want it. To avoid wasting the pan, what I like to do is kind of spread them. You see how they're like a window shade or Venetian blinds. Don't do this over your kitchen floor. This stuff makes things really slippery. So you just put it on there, spray it, and those are ready to go. Now this works best if you lay the fish across the grate. If you try to do it this way, they'll kind of flip through. And if you alternate them, put one way, one the other, you don't lose a lot of room on the rack. Something that will make them smoke even better. Even if you have one that's taken up some room, do it crossways like that. And then if you do this, look at all the moisture, the additional moisture that will take out of there, that will make them smoke even better. Now these are slippery little suckers, so when you put them on here, I want to make sure it doesn't get hung up and slide off. Have one going one way, one going the other. Here, let's not forget to do this. They smoke much faster when you plug it in. It goes much faster. All right, that just goes right down into the smoker. We'll take the pan of chips, and usually this will get done in 2 full pans. So you just fill it up like that, smooth it down so it holds the heat into the pan when it starts baking in there. And a little bit of foil was in the way. There we go. We'll put the lid on it. And we'll put the box on. It's probably 45 degrees out here today. And by having the box on it, it's a little tattered. It's done this for a lot of years. By putting the box on top, that just holds the heat in. And it makes the smoking and the cooking happen a lot faster. So we've got the first pan in. The first pan will last probably about 20 minutes. After the pan is done, you let it sit for a while and get really, really good and hot, and then do the cooking, and then you put another pan in there and open it up, take a look, and say, well, do I need a little bit more on this or not? That's all there is to it. These are really, really worth the money. You've seen today how easy this is to do the brining, and smoking's pretty easy. Plug it in, change the pan 2 or 3 times, and you're done. Well, we're out here with the grill. We're going to put the rainbow trout on there that have been breaded. I'll start with the whole fish. Got just enough room for everybody to be on there. And then you want to batter those up for me and bread them. I'm going to put some more panko on here. So get it wet on both sides.
I'm going to bread that trout right into that egg bath.
Perfect. There you go.
Panko right on there.
That's it, just like that. And then flip her on there. Excellent.
We're going to do the same thing.
Let's not forget we have those lemons here too. Those will improve anything. If you take a Coleman stove out to Hagg Lake and do this, that's going to be plenty. Just a simple grill and a Coleman stove. So we'll give this a little while to work, and we'll get ready to put them onto the platter here in a minute. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Look at that. Oh, is that good? When you're using one of the things, things you always want to do is put down a piece of aluminum foil in the bottom. Otherwise, that just gets on there and burns. But this way, with that aluminum foil, it doesn't do that. Here's one of the things that I like to do with the smoked kokanee and the smoked rainbow trout. I like to vac pack them. These have been honey glazed, and put them in here, 3 or 4 pieces. That's as rich as this is. That's about all people want, is 3 or 4 pieces of it. And one of the best things that you can do with it is put it in a little bit of sour cream. And mix some chives in with it and just crumble up the kokanee for a dip. Oh, is it good. Now when you freeze those, they don't break up. I mean, they're solid. They'll last for months. They look as good as they taste. And these are going in the freezer right there.
Thank you everyone for tuning in to this edition of Tackle Box Talks, Lake to Table. And thank you to Mark for letting us into his home to show you some ways on how to cook your fish once you catch them. Again, from all of us at Washington County Parks, thank you for joining us today. recreate safely, and enjoy.